Hey, what's up everybody? Prime22 here bringing you another Transformers lore. A while ago, Soundwave sent out a message to Cybertron, but what is going on Cybertron while the Earth campaign continues? Cybertron, home of the Transformers. The planet that has 2 moons is still drifting, and the war has been continuing for millions of years since we last saw it. In Megatron's absence, the current leader of the Decepticons ultimately fell to Lord High Governor Straxus, who bases his headquarters in the Fortress of Darkmount in the province of Polyhex. Despite it being the capital of the Decepticon Empire, there is still a considerable population of neutrals, and the main pocket of the Autobot resistance on Cybertron bases itself in Polyhex. These Autobots are led by Perceptor, who has taken charge in the absence of Optimus Prime. Polyhex was full of empties, or homeless, and members of the lower classes of Cybertron. Because the empties were a burden on Cybertron's resources, the Decepticons would often massacre them in Polyhex and use their bodies for raw materials. This is where our story starts, with a unit of Decepticon hunter-seeker skyships under Ferric, hunting empties. The empties Tellus and Rotorbolt are killed, and a harvester unit takes their bodies to turn them into resources. Nearby, the Autobot Blaster stands, wondering where his friend Scrounge was. Blaster and Scrounge were soldiers in Perceptor's resistance. Scrounge towed Blaster to meet with him, but Scrounge is 12 breams late. Just then, an empty runs by, pursued by Ferric. Blaster shoots Ferric down with his electro-scrambler, severely wounding Ferric. So, where is Scrounge? Well, there was a neutral scientist by the name of Spanner who lived in Polyhex. Spanner specialized in interdimensional engineering. Recently, the Decepticons kidnapped Spanner, and it was up to the Autobots to rescue him. Scrounge had a contact named Weasel in the Dead End, who told him that Spanner was taken to Darkmount, so that's where Scrounge has gone. He uses his special arm, which there isn't one quite like it, to deploy his fingers that can elongate with microphones in them to infiltrate the Fortress of Darkmount. Inside Darkmount, the Decepticon soldier named Shrapnel learns that a transmission has been received. It was the most profound revelation Cybertron has made in almost 50,000 Vorns. Because of this transmission, Straxus had Spanner abducted. Scrounge managed to get the data from the transmission, and plans to have it decoded at the Autobase. However, his fingers trip a wire and causes an alarm. Scrounge quickly uses his inner Autobot radio to call Blaster, telling him of his discovery. Blaster isn't so confident, as the last time Scrounge was this excited, he said Straxus was dying. However, Straxus just had a rust spot rash. Scrounge goes through the dead end, where Weasel starts to talk to him. However, Shrapnel flies in and grabs Scrounge. Since Scrounge never showed up, Blaster returned to the Autobase underground, where he met with his unit under Perceptor. Other members of the Resistance included Powerglide, Cosmos, Sea Spray, Warpath, and Beachcomber. Blaster tells Perceptor that he wants the search party for Scrounge, but Perceptor refuses him permission. Perceptor shows him the Wall of Fame, covered in images of Autobots that were on the Ark. Perceptor believes that the turning point of the war, the loss of the Ark, was an unnecessary risk, and that no more risks need to be taken. However, the Autobots vote, and Perceptor is outvoted. The entire group goes out looking for Scrounge. At Darkmount, there are the smelting pools. They are used to melt Transformers caught by the harvester units. Going by these pools, Shrapnel takes Scrounge to Straxus. With Straxus are his officers Kickback, Bombshell, Dirge, Ramjet, and Thrust. Straxus asks Scrounge for what he knows, but Scrounge refuses to tell him. In retaliation, Straxus rips Scrounge's special arm off. In the dead end, the Autobots ask the empties about Scrounge. Weasel says that he might remember if he had a little more energy, and Cosmos gives him some fuel. Weasel tells him that Shrapnel took Scrounge. Knowing that he's fallen to the Decepticons, the Autobots decide to quit their search. However, Blaster remains determined to rescue Scrounge on his own. He infiltrates Darkmount and attacks the Decepticons. Though Blaster is a renowned warrior, he is outnumbered and captured. He is then sent to the smelting pool. However, Blaster managed to not fall into the pool and shimmies on the sides until he finds Scrounge. Blaster, they caught you too. You're doomed. Ah, I let them catch me, so I could find you. Hold on, little buddy. Hurry. The pain. I must give you the information. Forget the information. It's you I want. No, you'll never escape with me. I'm just slowing you down. It's too late for me. Don't argue. I didn't come this far just to leave you here. Powerglide arrives overhead and drops a line down to evacuate the 2 Autobots. Blaster tries to help out Scrounge. Stop wriggling, Scrounge. No, I will only hinder your escape. You must release me. You must. Quit your complaining and... Scrounge, please, let the pool finish doing to me what it has started. I won't leave you to die here. You're an Autobot. I've always been a failure. As an Autobot, now I have the chance to change that. Do something worthwhile. Scrounge! But I need your help to do it. Bring this back to Autobase for me. Please. Then maybe the others will think better of me. Powerglide pulls Blaster up, and Blaster watches as Scrounge dies in the smelting pool. As the Autobots retreat, Blaster sees that all of Perceptor's unit had arrived to fight at Darkmount. The Insecticons and Seekers pursue the group, and Blaster finds some tubes that pump the molten liquid into the smelting pools. He releases them and attacks the Decepticons with them. Burn, you tin-plated tyrants! Feel what Scrounge felt when you tossed him into your stinking pit. Come on, cowards, stay and take your punishment like Transformers. I have enough heat here for everybody. They're gone, Blaster. You did it. Come. There's nothing more for us to do here. Let's go home. The demoralized Autobots return to the Autobase, where they manage to decode the message. It's Soundwave's message from Earth.
Greetings, fellow Decepticons. This is Soundwave. Before you is Earth, a planet rich in energy resources. Its dominant life form is the human, a puny, primitive organic creature, inferior to Transformers in every way. Our group of Decepticons, led by Megatron, crash-landed here nearly 50,000 forms ago. We intend to conquer Earth and use its energy to refuel Cybertron, making it the most powerful, fearsome planet in the galaxy. We ask that you make the necessary arrangements to assist us in this endeavor. But there is one force on Earth that could stand in our way. A group of Autobots, led by Optimus Prime.
Discovering that their long-lost leader, Optimus Prime, is in fact alive reignites the Autobots' morale, and they cheer this new discovery. Time passes, and on Earth, the couple Charlie and Rita take a drive in the Columbia River Gorge in northern Oregon, where they find a mechanical bridge that leads to nowhere. Suddenly, Crosscut materializes on the other side, but suddenly blows up due to unstable energy. Charlie and Rita, spooked, drive out of the area. On the other side of the bridge is Cybertron, specifically Polyhex, and Straxus is mad at the device's failure, as the other half of the bridge that was sent to Earth returned. Straxus sends a hesitant soldier to the bridge to find out what went wrong. Shrapnel suggests it's a better idea to contact Spanner since he made the space bridge, but Straxus sends the soldier anyway. From afar, Blaster watches as the Decepticon explodes at the end of the bridge. Blaster is there to gather information. As the soldier dies, Straxus orders Shrapnel across the bridge, but Shrapnel, who already called Spanner, informs him that the problem lies with a fuel line, and suggests that the bridge be deactivated until the fuel line is repaired. Straxus tells Shrapnel to spare him the details and to just do it. Powerglide arrives and takes Blaster back to the Autobase to discuss a rescue mission for Spanner with Perceptor. Once briefed, Perceptor decides to lead a mission to destroy the space bridge, but refuses to order a rescue mission for Spanner since it's too risky. On Earth, at the Powder River Basin in eastern Wyoming, Donnie Finkelberg, as Robot Master, is broadcasting on the behalf of the Decepticons, telling the world to stay away from the coal mine that has become the Decepticon base. Indeed, Megatron has plans, and he sent Laserbeak and Buzzsaw to find the missing Skywarp, Thundercracker, and Starscream. After the broadcast, Finkelberg decides he wants to quit and decides to speak to Megatron. Megatron has Ravage watch Finkelberg and laughs at the idea that he could just leave if he wanted to. Then, Laserbeak and Buzzsaw return with the Seekers, and Shockwave, to Megatron's surprise. The two prepare to fight over leadership of the Decepticons when suddenly a transmission from Straxus is received. With contact established with Cybertron, Shockwave and Megatron decide to work together to assist Straxus by moving Energon cubes converted from coal to Cybertron. As Finkelberg watches the Decepticons' plan, he decides that he needs to warn the Autobots. On Cybertron, Perceptor leads an attack on Darkmount to destroy the bridge. While Perceptor's unit acts as a decoy, Blaster is to destroy the bridge. However, Blaster secretly plans on saving Spanner himself. As Blaster sets the explosives, he hears a voice telling him to hurry. Confused, Blaster looks around. The bridge suddenly transforms. See, the Decepticons not only forced Spanner to make the space bridge, they forced Spanner to become the space bridge. Spanner begs Blaster for him to kill him, but Blaster is torn as he wants to rescue him, perhaps as repentance for letting Scrounge die. Blaster is hesitant as the battle goes poorly for the Autobots. The bridge begins to reach over to Earth, and the fighting gets concentrated on the bridge. Soldiers fall off and die in the realm of Transwarp. A police car watches as stray laser fire comes from the bridge and hits trees in the surrounding area. Finally, it comes to a one-on-one battle between Straxus and Blaster manages to send him off the bridge into Transwarp. The bridge becomes unstable, and Blaster, Perceptor, Seaspray, Cosmos, Powerglide, Beachcomber, and Warpath all run over to the other side on Earth as the bridge pulls back to Cybertron. Abandoned on Earth, Perceptor's unit greets the convoy of American police and military vehicles awaiting them. Outside the Ark, Optimus Prime and Grapple present the new defense for the Autobot headquarters, Omega Supreme. He was built by Grapple and fueled with life by Optimus. Optimus then announced that since the Decepticons have the Combiner Devastator on their team, the time has come to launch an attack on the Decepticon headquarters and gain the Combiner technology. The only ones who will remain are Omega Supreme and Ratchet. Grimlock takes issue with this, stating that if they launch a full-scale assault on the Decepticon base in Wyoming, it needs to be to the death. Grimlock's upset since Optimus Prime won't deploy the Dinobots, since they would stand out on Earth with their dinosaur modes. Grimlock, fed up, takes the Dinobots and leaves the Autobot forces, as they believe Optimus to be weak. At the Decepticon base in Wyoming, Shockwave has brought the Constructicons to help dig coal for the Energon, and turn their base into a fortress. Skywarp, Thundercracker, Starscream, Laserbeak, Buzzsaw, Frenzy, and Rumble are assembled by Megatron, and he decides to lead them to find the space bridge and welcome the Decepticon forces that are scheduled to arrive, not knowing about the battle that just took place. Meanwhile, the Autobots are en route to the Decepticon base when Skids, the copy of the famous anthropologist back on Cybertron, accidentally hits the car belonging to Jake Dalrymple. The Autobots continue to leave, but Jake decides to get revenge. The Autobots break through a military blockade to the Decepticon base. Jake follows them, but the military manages to hold him back. The Autobots then launch a massive attack on the base. Meanwhile, Megatron and his forces go to where the space bridge was, and they find that the Autobots were sent. Megatron was about to attack when Soundwave and Shockwave reported, stating that they were under attack and needed assistance. However, Megatron believes that this means that the Ark is undefended, and leads an attack over there. As the battle at the coal mine continues, Shockwave orders the Constructicons to combine into Devastator, and Bumblebee records this sequence with his Electro Signal Interceptor. Once Bumblebee reports to Prime, Optimus orders a retreat back. At the Ark, the Decepticons face Omega Supreme. Omega Supreme wipes the floor with them, and only Megatron and Laserbeak escape. Rumble, Frenzy, Starscream, Skywarp, Thundercracker, and Buzzsaw are all beat into critical condition and put into cold storage in the Ark. As Optimus continues his retreat, Jake jumps in the way of Skids to reprimand him for hitting his car. The pursuing Ravage takes the opportunity to fire a missile that sends Skids off the cliff that they're on. Prime watches, but knows that he can't afford to stop. The Autobots continue to retreat. At the coal mine, Laserbeak drops Megatron and Shockwave decides that he must take command. Laserbeak perches on his arm. Megatron, enraged, tells Shockwave that while Megatron stormed the Autobot base, Shockwave sat and waited for the Autobots to come to him, and they likely took something before they retreated. After being convinced, Shockwave decides to step down, and Megatron once more is the commander of the Decepticons. Laserbeak flies to instead perch on Megatron's shoulder. However, during the previous battle, Donnie Finkelberg managed to escape and now Ravage is in pursuit after him. Donnie finds a campsite where he takes the clothes there and burns his Robot Master costume. As he continues to flee, he passes the wreck of Skids, who can't communicate with him since his communicator is broken. Meanwhile, Ravage finds the campsite and continues to smell Finkelberg through the burnt remains of his costume. Meanwhile, Charlene and Wendell are working at Bill's Market. Charlene's car broke down on her recently, so Wendell gives her a ride home. However, they find Skids on the road and Charlene decides she could use it as her new car. Wendell's cousin owns a garage and they go to Bob's service to have him repaired. Charlene takes Skids home and Skids decides that pretending to be her car will be safer than what he usually does, being a soldier. As Charlene drives Skids, Jake sees him go by. He pursues, trying to wreck Skids, but Skids takes over the car and drives him and Charlene to safety. This startles Charlene and Skids tries to calm her down by transforming and explaining. He tells her all about the Transformers War. He tells her that he's tired of fighting, and that he just wants to continue living with her as her car. Meanwhile, at the Rainbow Diner, Finkelberg overhears Jake talking about a van that was seemingly alive. Over the next several days, Charlene and Skids spend all of their free time together. Wendell asks Charlene out to a movie, but Charlene rejects this since she already plans on being with Skids. Later, Charlene is washing Skids when Finkelberg arrives to oust Skids as an Autobot so Skids can take him to Optimus Prime so he can tell Prime about the space bridge. Suddenly, Ravage attacks, and Skids takes the two away into a ghost town for safety. Jake sees them and pursues them in his car. Skids sends Charlene and Donnie out to hide while Skids sits waiting for Ravage. However, Jake comes and smashes Skids' windshield, which knocks him out. Don't ask me about the biology on that. Skids wakes up to see Megatron holding Charlene. Megatron kills Charlene and then kills Skids. But this is just a dream, as Skids and Charlene are fine. Finkelberg and Jake argue while Ravage arrives. The humans run, and Jake gets back in his car. Seeing Skids being beaten by Ravage, Jake decides to do something. Ravage lunges for the final blow when Jake drives up his car, letting it be totaled to protect Skids. Skids wakes up and decides to protect the humans from the threat of the Decepticons. Skids manages to make Ravage fall down a mine shaft. Skids then talks to Charlene and tells her that he needs to protect the planet, and so he and Donnie Finkelberg leave to reunite with Optimus Prime at the Ark. Hey guys, Optimus Prime here again, just letting you guys know that we got a Discord server up, so if you want to check that out, link is in the description. If you guys just want to talk to each other, or talk to me, I probably will use it, maybe for streaming, in case I want to talk to anyone on there, like while streaming or anything, but yeah, go check that out if you have a Discord.